scary videos continue to come thick and fast because I know that's what you guys like. Well, the majority of you do anyway. But tonight we're taking a break from no sleep, just momentarily. I think, if I remember correctly, there will be another no sleep video next week anyway, so. But we're going to be delving into some true, allegedly true, scary encounters. Yeah, we're back on Let's Not Meet, which I tend to find more creepy. But we'll see what stories Reddit has in store for us this evening. So, as always, I really hope you enjoy this one. I hope you find it scary and relaxing. And let's get into it. Right, I'm just gonna work my way through. I've done month and then sort by rating, and we're gonna take a little read of them. So this one is from Eddie.2947. It's titled Scariest Situation I've Ever Been In. For a little bit of context, I, 79 female, live in a fairly small town with not a lot of people. At the time this story took place, I'd been working at a local Burger King for about 2 months. I didn't have a car or any way to get a ride, but it's about a 10-minute walk, which worked for me. And due to the tight-knit community, my dad didn't think it was too dangerous. One night I'm scheduled a 3 till 11 sucky shift, arsehole customers, all the usual. The day ends, I start walking home on the same route I always walk. As I'm about halfway through my walk though, I notice a guy walking down the street the opposite direction. It was dark, and the only thing I could really see was that he was actually there. He apparently didn't know that I saw him, because the moment he saw me, he stopped walking and crouched into a bush. Ugh. The bush was basically right in front of the route I usually take home, but I'm not that stupid. At this point I'm like, F no. Don't care what this guy's doing, but I want no part of it. I start walking the other direction to take a different route, and all of a sudden this guy starts calling out to me, asking for help. When I turned around, he was starting to run in my direction. Nope. That is grim. My heart was in my stomach. I'm certain that I've never run that fast in my life. I run as fast as I can and eventually get pretty close to my house. I get the door unlocked and slam it shut as fast as I can. I was pretty shaken by the scenario, but really had no clue what he was actually trying to do. So I brushed it off and just decided that I'd carry pepper spray in future. A few days later, it turns out that a girl from my high school was almost kidnapped by a man who also tried to follow her home. Oh. From that day on, I never walked home again. Yeah, don't blame you. For anyone out there who thinks it wouldn't happen to you, you're wrong. Always be safe, cause it really could be you. That's so grim. So grim. I mean, to be fair, when it said he got in a bush and then asked for help, I thought he might have just gone, for a boo in the bush and was asking if she had any tissue or loo roll, but when he started running, probably wasn't his intention, to be completely honest. Okay, next one. Me and my friends decided to go skating at our favourite park. Everything was fine for the first hour, and then we heard a commotion. We walked toward the noise, and that's when we saw a group of 8 to 10 people jumping a homeless man. It went from punching and kicking to these people literally bashing this man's head in with their skateboards. Oh my goodness. At this point we all started to distance ourselves, but right as we did, one of the people pulled out a knife. Me and my friends were frozen in shock. All of the attackers ran away, and the homeless man got up, took 10 steps, collapsed and died. Oh my gosh. Cops showed up and let the man's body sit there for about an hour. Eventually they took it away, and we all continued skating. The eeriest part is later that night, the guy who delivered the final blows on the homeless man came mess that guy up. To which the guy replied, "I don't know what you're talking about," with the most unsettling monotone voice and threatening look on his face. Mind you, he had dried blood on him from the attack. Scared that out of me, and we stopped going to that park afterwards. So yeah, let's not meet again. That is mental. Gosh, that is absolutely horrific. I also skipped some lines in that because I thought a bit too much for an ASMR video, but goodness me. That is terrifying and really sad. Right, our next account comes from Proof Vacation 437. So, EDA, I'm a woman and was 19 at the time. I was listening to a creepypasta, and I really need to side note. I've never done a creepypasta video for some reason. I really should. There was a scene where a guy was looking closely at something in the dark, trying to understand what it was, and suddenly realised he was looking in someone's eye the whole time. So it reminded me of this situation. About 4 years ago, we were mushroom picking with a friend in the woods. I thought I saw some mushrooms. I was walking towards them, looking attentively and trying to understand if there were mushrooms there or not. Suddenly, my eyes shift, and I realised this whole time I was walking towards a man. How are you mistaking a man and mushrooms? Is it Toad? I was walking towards a man who was just standing there looking at me. He was staring and smiling and doing the come closer gesture. Oh, mushroom man. I have no idea how long this has been going on, and this whole time I was coming right towards him, but somehow I didn't notice him until the last moment. I got scared and ran to my friend. We laughed about it and continued the mushroom picking lol. We didn't even go too far away from there. At the time it just seemed like a funny story. But the more I think about it now, the more it creeps me out. What was he going to do? Did he see me walking there and instantly decided to do the come closer thing? Was it supposed to be a prank? I'm so confused. As if they just carried on playing. Picking mushrooms, what on earth? But yeah, this mysterious mushroom man. At least they had a laugh about it at the time, I guess. Right. We got a long one here. My horror story with an insane billionaire's son. Gosh. In December of last year, I, female 21 at the time, met Nick, age 22, on Hinge. Mistake, I know. I thought he was very handsome and he went to a good school for a D1 sport. Before we first met, he seemed incredibly respectful and asked many questions trying to get to know me. The first time we hooked up was an odd experience. He asked me how I did on the SAT, wouldn't stop complimenting me about my rosy red cheeks, but he used zin in my mouth as we were making out. What is a zin? And stole my lighter as an excuse to return and see me again. He also told me that he had lost tens of thousands of dollars gambling in the past. Obviously my judgment was questionable, but I continued hooking up with him as I found him endearing, and he still seemed like a very sweet boy. He went to school in another city, so I saw him a few times over the next couple of months when he would come back to our hometown. The red flags started to show, and in retrospect I really should have dipped at that point. The third time we hung out, he asked to take me on a date, but was 2.5 hours late and brought me to a Blaze Pizza, where I watched him house an entire pizza as I dawdled by thumbs. confessed to me that he was an alcoholic. I later found out he was a drug addict too, and had become sober after a couple of stints in rehab during his freshman year of college. Blimey. He told me a story about how he got one of his scars. He was harassing a woman in a gas station parking lot in high school, and her boyfriend hit him, so he beat him up and escaped on his bicycle. But a random passerby pushed him off. He also had a minor fit when he realised I was wearing a coat made for men, and had cut my hair shorter than when I had met him. Gosh, I'll just leave, but I can tell by the length of this story, she doesn't leave. Eventually we became exclusive and started dating. Of course, that's the natural progression after that conversation. When I said yes to dating, he was so happy that he cried tears of joy. That night he confessed to me that he came from a billionaire family. We dated for 6 months after that, and I was exposed to depths of addiction and idiocy, especially around money, that were unimaginable to me. For example, he would book express Amtrak tickets when arriving to the station instead of ahead of time, spending hundreds of dollars each time. He would rack up $1,000 Uber bills on his family's account. His parents paid him $50 an hour to walk the dog, and he worked for a charity his mum had set up, paying him $30 an hour. But he was still somehow always broke. His mum would go back to school shopping for him and spend tens of thousands on his clothing, which he never had occasion to wear because he was functionally unemployed. He was a terrible boyfriend. No, really. Overly demanding, very shady with other women, and incapable of taking no for an answer. He'd tell me many stories from his addict days, including when he had tried meth that a drug dealer had given him as a free sample. Oh, freebies. When he'd lost over 20k getting scammed at a casino by a con man, or when he got robbed by a hooker and her pimp. All things to tick off the bucket list, really. I thought he was a changed man, but about 3 months into our relationship he started gambling again. I'd never seen a real addict in action, and it was mind-boggling. He would spend any time he could at the casino. He'd be there all night, 8 PM to 8 AM, or leave his internship early to go during the afternoon. He rapidly started losing lots of money, but no one in his family realised. He would imply that he knew how much money was in my bank account and the PIN on my card, and I knew that he owed people a lot of money, so I changed all of my codes. Good. About 2 months later, his father's alcoholism became a major problem, and the father was sent to rehab. My boyfriend then started drinking again. Within 2 weeks, he broke up with me and slept with another woman. I found that out months later when he scrolled through a selfie taken with her in his room the day he broke up with me, and then tried to play it off. By the end of the relapse, he was drunk 24/7 and would call me, threatening me and flexing his superior education on me. No one in his family had realised he was drinking again, and I ended up telling his sister what had happened. Within 24 hours they had sent him back to rehab. The same rehab the father was in, $1,200 a night. Then the rehab centre said that only father or son could stay, not both, and the father kicked the son out to a much lower quality place. What is this? Eventually my boyfriend got out of rehab and entered a halfway house, but I told him that I no longer wanted to be with him, so he left the halfway home and immediately came to my house. A few weeks later I found out about the other woman and also started to question a formal he'd gone to 2 days before we started dating. When I ended things for good, I tried many times earlier, but he would always cry and beg, and it was effective. He lost his mind. He threatened to email my nudes job, threatened to file a police report if I didn't pay him $1,000 in cash to compensate him for any dates we'd ever gone on, even though we went 50-50, and threatened to have me institutionalized through the Marchman Act. I was obsessed with the idea. No, he was obsessed with the idea of me going to his friend's engagement party with him. And when I blocked him everywhere, including email, he messaged me through Spotify. Can you do that? That's insane levels of psycho. He messaged me through Spotify, threatening me if I didn't go with him. He also heavily implied that he'd put a hidden camera in my room and had given me an STD. It was a crazy ride I should have gotten out of much, much earlier, but it does make for a good story. Well, yeah. And there are 1,000 more entertaining aspects to it I didn't have room for. Like his suing his school because he failed 2 classes from not turning assignments in. His obsession with the size of his younger brother's penis. And his crazy ex-girlfriend who was harassing me throughout the entire relationship. I understand her now. As if they were going 50-50 and he's a friggin' billionaire. Well, not really, but damn. I would dispute that it makes for a good story. I'd say that's you're a bloody idiot kind of story. Like, why on earth did you stick with him? You know what, I'd almost somewhat understand if he was paying for everything and, you know, taking her on these like lavish holidays, but if they were just going 50-50 on stuff and he was just getting drunk and whatnot, I'm not sure she's going to have many fond memories to look back on, but blimey, would make for a good movie, maybe. Goodness me. Rightio, that one's too long, I'm not reading that one. Simple as that. Okay, let's go with this one. It's just titled In the Woods Behind My House. English is not my first language, so I'm sorry if there's any mistakes. This happened to me when I was about 14. I was in 2020 in the cold winter of Canada. At that time the confinement was obliged. Every 2 days we would have class at school. Everything else was online. After my online class, I had to practice my acting part for my theatre class. Since everyone was home, I didn't want to bother anyone with my loud voice and cries, so I decided to go into the woods. So you all got to know that I live in the woods. I don't really have any neighbours and no one walks in these woods behind my house since it's private property. Anyway, I had asked my sister if she wanted to come with me, but when we got out she said she had a weird feeling and didn't want to come along anymore, and ran back to the house. So instead I grabbed my dog, which is a pug. Good defence. And at that time he was 3 years old. Important thing to know, my dog can't bark at all, and he still can't to this day. He is very social and cuddly. He would even run away with a kidnapper. Great protection. So I get down my property to enter the woods behind the trees and I get on a wood path. I know the woods like I know my own back pocket, and I never get lost. As I was walking forward with my dog, I record a video of myself to see what I need to improve on my acting. That's when I see somebody behind me. Of course, I turn back and look at the person. To this day, I don't know if it was a man or a woman, but the person was clothed head to toe with dirty blankets and dirty coats. They had a plastic bag, a black one that we use in restaurants for the trash. It was huge. I still remember to this day that vision of the person. I could only see their eyes. In the other hand, they had a sharp-looking object that I couldn't identify. So out of instinct, I started walking faster, because no one ever comes to these woods, especially on a -34-degree winter. But my dog was not going forward. He was still and was not moving an inch, fixing with fear that person, and he starts barking. That's when I knew something was off, because my dog doesn't bark and likes everyone. But at that moment I could see the situation wasn't safe. So I whistle to him, and he walks but head facing back, and the person starts laughing. As they were laughing, they said, "I'm not scared of dogs." In my head I was asking myself, why would someone tell me this? So I walk faster, telling my dog to follow me, and I hear the snow crack. The person is walking faster and starts following me. That was it for me. I picked up my dog and started running. I could hear the stranger running after me. Gross. Then I get to a dead end. There's 3 thoughts going through my mind. Number 1, going straight forward between the trees until I find a path. 2, jumping off the snow cliff that is at least 10 feet high. Or 3, go back on my feet and run for my life. All these knowing I had to have the dog in my arms. I can't think long enough, then I hear the stranger's footsteps on the snow, and I decided to jump off the cliff with the dog in my arms. I was being swallowed by the soft snow, because here in Canada there can be up to 3 feet tall snow on the floor. I didn't have my snowsuit and I was freezing, and ice was forming on my legs and hands. I thought I was going to die, but my dog began digging me out. I pick him up again and run towards the second cliff in front of me. I look back and there I see that stranger for the last time. They had their left hand on their forehead, looking left and right at the horizon, looking for me. They spot me and start walking towards me. I ran as fast as I could, following the path that I knew would lead me to the street in front of my house. I ran for minutes with my dog in my arms, and the ice on my legs in the freezing cold. I get back to my house, and I decided to act like nothing happened. Went back to my room, and I just stared at the void. Damn. That's crazy. That is mental. Someone's asked, you never told anyone, like police or whatnot, and they've said, I live pretty far, so the police would have taken 30 minutes to an hour to arrive. The person probably would have escaped already. Damn. They never ever, apart from that, saw someone in the woods behind their property. That's crazy. But clearly, number 1, W for picking up the dog and running with it, because clearly that dog was gonna get deaded. And 2, obviously a good call jumping off that cliff. Damn, that is crazy. I have a real thing about getting chased, it's a real, anxiety of mine, in that even if I'm in a swimming pool and my wife will start swimming after me and pulling her face, I'll start panicking. I hate it. I hate it when she chases me up the stairs. I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack every time it happens. So the mere reading of this, someone actually getting chased in a dangerous situation, yeah, no. It's a big fat no from me. A big fat no. Okay, next up we've got, I started receiving anonymous threats in the mail. I lived by myself after my sophomore year of college. In my 3rd year I lived off campus in an apartment complex that was gated and you needed a key to enter. Most of the residents were students. A few families lived there too. Brian was a kid who lived with his family there. I saw him around when I'd go to do laundry and he liked talking to me. He was in 5th grade that year. He would talk to me and we would chat while I did my laundry. about school, and it was nice. Kind of made me think back on when I was in 5th grade. He used to ask me what was going on for me. I usually said I was studying. One day he asked for my email address. He said he started writing stories and he wanted to send them to me. It felt harmless, it felt wholesome, so I gave him my email address. He started sending me these little horror stories. There were abandoned houses, killer clowns and stuff like that. While I was writing this, I just remembered that this was around the time we had a clown problem and there were reports of clown attacks. Side note, I don't think it might not have actually started in the UK, the clown stuff, but there was a bit of a clown epidemic in the UK, and it actually started in my hometown by like a uni student who was doing like a social experiment. But I literally remember like it was a thing, like clowns would get spotted just like out and about, but there were a few attacks where I lived. But yeah, if this person is speaking, I know they're in America, so it's not. Anyways, that just like unlocked a memory for me. Sorry to break any tension. I respected that he had a hobby. I didn't always respond to his emails, but I always mentioned something to him when I'd see him. Then he invited me to his elementary school graduation. I was in the middle of finals. I also just didn't want to give up a whole Friday morning, so instead I sent him a Hallmark card congratulating him. I thought that would be sweet enough. The next time I saw him, he did not seem happy. He said something like how it would only have been an hour and he had seen me spend longer with my friends. I didn't really know what to say to that because he kind of had a point. I think this really crossed a line when he asked me to get dinner with him. He said, just me and you. I said I don't think so, but he kept pushing, saying things like I just want to get to know you better. Even crazier, he was doing this while his mum was there. His mum could hear all of this. I thought she would intervene, but she did not. She giggled. When your 11-year-old son is pressuring a college student to go on a date with him after she has already said no, that is a great moment for a parent to step in and help enforce boundaries. I wasn't in that apartment for very long after this. I had one summer session that ended in August, and then I moved to a different place for the next year. I kept my distance. I did not want another invitation to anything. I gave that kid one-word answers. I avoided eye contact. I also blocked his email address. After I moved out, I didn't hear from Brian for a few months. Then around October, I started getting anonymous letters sent to my new address. I opened the first envelope and the note said, "It is so easy to follow you. Can you hear the footsteps behind you?" What? What? I felt nauseous. I am uncomfortable even remembering that moment now. Then I got a second letter that said, "I know what you did. It is funny how you think it is over." I had read enough of that kid's stories to recognise his writing when I'd see it. This was the way the characters in his stories might speak. Yeah, maybe it's just product research. I knew instantly that he was the one sending me these letters. I felt ridiculous calling the police, but I did. Imagine calling the police and telling them that an 11-year-old might be sending you anonymous threatening letters. The police told me there was nothing they could do because no laws had been broken. They could not trace the letters. They also said these letters were more common than some people realised, and that there was no concrete evidence to believe they were from this kid. They also told me that sometimes these kinds of letters come from senders that the recipient had never even met before. I guess the police were right. There was no way to prove it, but I know for a fact that kid sent me those letters. There was never a third letter. I never heard from him again. I think he must have moved on to somebody else. Maybe he found other people to spend his time thinking about. Hopefully people his own age. I wish the cops had taken it more seriously, but I understand why they didn't. It's hard to investigate a situation that does not have any evidence. But regardless, let's not meet again. Yeah, I mean, like the glaringly obvious issue is that clearly, I think the boundaries word was mentioned, clearly doesn't have a parent that has set any form of boundaries whatsoever, and he can just do what he likes. And also probably clearly kind of blending, his stories and reality in a insanely creepy way. Yeah, horrible. Some people are so strange. Right. Let's go with this one. This is one of the highest rated stories of the year, and I think I'll end on this one. So this story is titled, "Am I Overreacting, or Is My Mailman Creepy?" I, 23 female, live alone in a decently nice apartment in a nice neighbourhood for 2 years now. For the most part, the mail gets delivered to the mailboxes at the front entrance of the building. Occasionally, packages are delivered straight to apartment doors, and it's pretty convenient. Well, about a year ago, I was home from work during the day, as I took the afternoon off to go to a doctor's appointment. The doorbell rang, and I have a Ring camera. I saw it was the mailman, so I answered. I have this whole exchange on video. He was maybe in his 30s, white, short, like 5'5"-ish, very large glasses, really dishevelled thin hair. I opened the door, smiled and said thanks so much, and went to take the package. He stopped and stared at me like something was wrong, so I was like, "Oh, sorry, did you need to take a picture of the delivery or something?" And to my surprise he said, "I know you. I've seen you before." And you can see on the camera my face changes, my body demeanour gets uncomfortable, and I move behind the door. I said, "I'm sorry, I don't think we have met." I went to shut the door, but he raises his voice and takes a step forward and said, "I've seen your name on your mail. I found you on Instagram." My face went white and I froze. I said, "Me?" I was kind of like a deer in headlights. He said, "Yeah, you are a person of interest on Instagram for me. Your account was private, but you're pretty." Wow. Riz. You are a person of interest on Instagram for me. It's not funny, but I said thanks and slammed the door, locking it quickly. I was happy to know I caught the whole thing on video. I showed it to my then boyfriend, who agreed it was weird. A few days later, on Saturday, he's back at my door. He rang the bell about 10 times, waiting a few minutes, just staring. I answered him through the doorbell and said, "I can just leave any mail, thanks." What he said next made me shake. He said, "I actually don't have any mail for you today. I just wanted to say hi. Can I come in for a glass of water?" Ugh. I decided to just not answer. To be honest, I didn't know what to say. But then about 2 weeks go by. My then boyfriend stayed the night and slept in. I left early for work. I get a call around 10:30 from my boyfriend. I won't believe what just happened, and to check the camera. I checked the camera, the mailman came. He rang the bell a few times and my boyfriend answered the door. The mailman took a step back and my boyfriend stood for a moment and they stared at each other. He realised the mailman didn't have anything in his hands. He said, "Can I help you?" And the mailman said, "Where's the small girl who lives here?" I'm pretty petite, by the way. I'm slightly under 5 foot, 100 pounds. My boyfriend was stunned and said, "I live here too. From now on, leave our packages downstairs," and slammed the door. I was really happy he said that because truthfully he didn't live with me full time, maybe 2 nights a week. It seemed to work. I didn't see the mailman again at all actually. My then boyfriend and I broke up a few months ago. I completely forgot about the mailman until today. I was entering my building where he was exiting at the same time I was entering. He stared at me and I went to walk by. He turned to walk after me and said, "Hey, I haven't seen that guy in a while who used to live with you. Did he move out?" I panicked and walked faster, grabbing my keys, but I lied and said, "Oh, he's around." And as I entered quickly, I said, "Hey honey, I'm home," and slammed it fast. I don't know why I lied, but something told me to make it clear I wasn't alone. Yep, great decision. Am I being dramatic or is he creepy? Not being dramatic at all. I mean, like, I feel like this could easily get worse, surely. Could definitely escalate, like, that is so weird. Why are people so bloody weird? Like, oh, so weird. She's given an update that she has given the videos and stuff to the police, which is sensible considering she's now probably living by herself. But yeah, that was smart. Good decision saying that the person still lived there, because gosh, who knows what he would have said or done if she said, "Oh no, I live by myself now. Come round any time for a cuppa." Well, definitely some creepy, outright insane stories, to be fair, like the billionaire one and the snowy cliff one, like, mental. I feel like sometimes Let's Not Meet, when they're creepy, but there are sometimes some kind of like nothing boring stories, but these are all either creepy or insane, basically. But I really hope you did enjoy this video. Like I said, we'll be back on No Sleep next week. Can't remember what day. Maybe Thursday. I think it might be Thursday. But there'll be a new video on Sunday,